Tom Brady Sr. is with us on ESPN Radio. Good morning again, Mr. Brady.
Good morning, Greeny. How are you today?
Well, I'm fine. I'm excited, although I'm sure not nearly as you are. As the season rolls around, who gets more excited for the opener tonight, Tom Brady Sr. or Tom Brady Jr.?
I think Tom Brady Jr. has some butterflies, but Tom Brady Sr. has a whole flock of birds in his stomach. That's pretty nerve-wracking for the parents. When you're not on the field, you can take care of it when you're on the field. You can't take care of it when you're in the stands.
Still.
So we're pretty darn excited.
That's the amazing part of this to me. And again, obviously, I've never been in your situation. Candidly, no one has ever been in your exact situation. But with all the success that he's had, with all that he has accomplished, with the fact that his legacy as being the greatest of all time is assured, regardless of what happens on the field from this point forward, do you still feel the same way as these games get played as you did when he was first starting?
Absolutely, Greeny. It doesn't change very much. It's, I mean, we've gone through it now for a lot of years, but every parent knows what it's like when their kid gets up to bat. And just because they've been up to bat a lot doesn't mean that there's not the same angst. And so we've been through it, and like you said, 300 regular season games. That's a lot of stress, but it's a lot of joy as well. We've had so darn much fun, and we go through it every single day that he takes the field.
Tom Brady Sr. with me is, again, on the Goodyear Hotline, making the plays that move you forward. Goodyear, more driven. Speaking of driven, like one of the things that has become an interesting topic of conversation around your son is just how driven he is, just what it is that motivates him at this stage. And I was saying to someone the other day on TV, there's really only one thing he hasn't accomplished in his career, and he was so incredibly close, and that was the perfect season. And Tom, said during this offseason that he might consider trading 2 of his Super Bowl rings for that perfect season. So that got me to thinking, maybe that's the motivation. Maybe that's what that drives him this year. What is your sense of the chances that your son and his team could win all their games this year?
Well, I'm a little more cautious than a lot of the pundits out there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure that 17-0 is going to be anything. Because it's just too difficult. Talking, Adam Schefter just a few minutes ago just said how difficult it is, and everybody else says how difficult it is. But that being said, and by the way, last year there were so many razor-thin games. Mm-hmm. Every year there are razor-thin games that can knock you off. So I all I know is he's put in 100% this offseason, and I think the team has as well, from what I have heard coming out of camp, that everybody has bought in. So I think they got as good chance as anybody, but boy, there's a lot of good competition out there. We're facing some pretty darn good competition tonight, and we're going to be looking at it in next 2 weeks in Los Angeles, and so we just. There are big obstacles, and we need a lot of breaks, or I should say no breaks, because we don't want any broken bones or any injuries. Mm-hmm. And that, too, will have a factor in it. So last year we were lucky on the injury front. God willing, we'll be lucky on it this year as well. So, but we just have, we come to step up with a lot of confidence and a lot of hope.
Tom Brady Sr. with me here on ESPN Radio. Obviously, that week 4, and I know you've talked about it a little bit, will be, I'm sure, it'll be the most interesting and most hyped up regular season game in the history of the sport when your son goes back to Foxborough, where he had the legendary 2-decade run and all the emotion that will be involved in that. I just wonder at this point, how close an eye do you keep on what's going on there? They have rebuilt that team. They've drafted a young quarterback who, candidly, he looks so much like Tom when he goes out there and plays. It's remarkable to me, just in the way that he approaches it. How close an eye are you keeping on what they're doing there?
I keep a close eye on it because we had some friends on the team, and that's where our roots are for 20 years. But Tommy felt good leaving a year ago, and he's going to be having a good time when he goes back there. It's going to be, as you said, a very hyped game. But I would actually, by the way, agree with you. He does look a tremendous amount like Tommy. He's very poised and very accomplished, and I think they've really retooled very nicely and or they're going to be a real challenge for the Bills for the division and for the conference. I think they're loaded.
But Tom Brady Sr. could be our analyst. We should bring him in here, just have him breaking down teams and games and stuff like that. Work out well. I want to make it clear that I would never ask you to divulge any conversation that you're not fully comfortable doing. But it would behoove me to ask you. I mean, your son is doing things that have never been done. He is 44 years old. Only one quarterback in the history of the sport has ever won a single game at that age, and that is Vinny Testaverde. And here is your son out there with so many people, including me, picking him to win the Super Bowl this year. What sense do you have of how much longer we should be expecting to see him out there playing?
Your guess is as good as mine. We're needless to say, we're more than stunned that this continues. Just having grown up myself, watching these great football players for years, it turns out that our son is going to be coming to the end of his career pretty quick, and I would not be surprised if he comes back. It just depends. If they win, there are injuries, but if they win, he could hang it up. But if they don't win, he probably would come back. But I don't know. It's really a good question for him because he's really enjoying what he's doing. I mean, actually, I said to my wife the other day, I don't know what he's gonna do after he quits playing football because it so consumes his life. It's so important to him. His family's important to him, but football's important to him.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.